Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Konings, and welcome to Classic Movie Rambles, where I talk about all the movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is The Mummy from 1932, and it's about 1 hour and 30 minutes long. And the movie starts about explaining the scroll of thought, which is basically a scroll that has something to do with the undead, and then cutting to a field expedition in 1921 where two people are going through the findings of a dig, I guess. Joseph, Miller, and Weller. And they look at the mummy Imhotep, and they realize that he was buried alive. They also find a casket which has a curse put on it, so Joseph and Miller goes into the other room and argue about whether to open it or not, but Weller opens it and he finds the undead scroll of thought. This also brings the Imhotep mummy back to life, and the mummy just grabs the scroll and leaves the room, which leaves Weller in a hysterical laughter because he's gone mad. So some years later, I guess, two men are talking in a room and Ardat Bey enters the room. And Ardat Bey is really just Imhotep, now more in human form. And he shows him where to dig for an undiscovered tomb, which has been unopened for 3,700 years. So later at the Cairo Museum, Ardat Bey is looking at the goods that they found from the tomb. Later cutting to a party where this young, beautiful girl called Helen is with the guy from earlier called Miller, now an old man. And then cutting back to Ardat Bey, talking to the museum keeper, the ward, and then he leaves. And then he performs a ritual, and it leaves Helen in like a trance. So Helen starts to, basically she takes a cab down to the museum because for some reason she has the soul of Imhotep's lover inside of her. I don't know how that works really, but she can't enter the door and she collapses at the front of the museum. So Helen gets taken home and taken care of, and Ardat Bey kills one of the museum guards. And sometime later, the museum owner hears about it, the death of the guard, and he's stunned to find the scroll of thought at the crime scene. Much later, Ardat Bey goes to see Helen as she is sleeping, I guess, and they talk, and the others enter the room and they talk some more. And then Helen leaves for a hotel, and the others talk to Ardat Bey, I guess. And they figure out that he is Imhotep, and then he just leaves, and he goes to his lair and uses some kind of water magic to see where they hid the scroll because he's looking for it now and they're hiding it for him. So he sees where the scroll is, and he gives the good doctor a heart attack with his evil mummy magics, I guess, and he uses one of the servants to just grab the scroll. So the other two men goes to check on Helen if she is okay, but Helen leaves to see Ardat Bey in his hideout. So once she gets there, he uses his water magic again to show her his past, and he stole basically the skull of thought many years ago before he was mummified, and he was buried alive in an unmarked grave. And then her dog starts to bark, and Ellen leaves to go back to the hotel, where she meets up with Frank, this young man, which is supposed to be like a love interest or something. So Frank confesses his love for her. He basically wants her to be safe, but they come up with a plan to trap Imhotep or capture him by letting Imhotep actually take control over Helen to lead him straight to his hideout, which is a really nice thing. Use your love interest to get the bad guy. That's good. That's a good lover's thing, right? So Imhotep tries to kill Frank by also giving him a heart attack or something, but Frank reaches for like this protective ward, like a pendant or something, and he passes out. And Helen leaves to go to see Imhotep again, and Imhotep needs to basically kill Helen's soul or something to transfer it back to the mummy. There's like this weird ritual that needs to happen. So Frank and Miller goes to save Helen. And somehow Helen casts a spell on Imhotep because she remembers the past of her like former self or something. And this destroys both Imhotep and the scroll. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. Frank and Miller arrives on the scene. So what do I think about this movie? It's a good movie. The acting is overall good. I don't like that the actress that plays Helen shows a lot of skin, but that's not her choice. It's the director in one of his first movies, I believe. So this movie spawned a lot of other mummy movies, just as the Frankenstein movie spawned a lot of Frankenstein movies. Some good, some really terrible, cheesy and bad. But a cool thing about the mummy makeup was that it was made by Jack Pierce, and the whole full like body makeup and suit and everything took 8 hours, and that's just crazy. That's the dedication of an actor right there. The only problem with this suit was that they didn't have a toilet solution. So imagine being in a suit for 8 hours without being able to go to the bathroom. That's kind of crazy. But they just probably use it for a couple of shots anyway. But the makeup looks really good. It doesn't look like a real dead mummy, I guess, but there's like this old kind of stifle effect, which I think they use like glue or something. You put glue on your like cheek and you stretch it a bit until it dries, and then you let go of it. Then you have like wrinkles on your face, and doing like layers of that. It's kind of cool how these old practical effects work. I mean, today they probably just go full CG and call it, that's done, call it a day or something like that. So a lot of, credit due to the old craftsmen and makeup artists of the day. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.